Hello guys, so in this example we're going to learn how to create this effect here, and we're going to learn a few more tricks about how to push the volume and source some extra velocity to make it do what it's doing right now. And the first thing that we're going to start with is obviously create the initial sim with the main source and everything, and then we're going to add the extra forces to deform that. Now this extra mask here, this extra logo, it's used in the sim to create this effect, but this is created at render time in the shader to change this area only, and we're going to learn how to do that when we get to the rendering section. Cool. So let's start. I have to save some time, I have the geometry here. It's basically a trace node reading a JPEG file, a PNG file, and I'm using that to create this geometry that I then rotate and extrude, scale, and position. So this is the logo, and then I created two circles and used this skin operation between them, and then extruded that, and this is going to be my my starting point. Now what I like to do is I'm going to isolate the interior faces here and use those as an emitter. So I'm going to use a delete node and set it to bounding sphere, and let's increase the sphere and delete non-selected. Now we have those interior faces. I'm going to scale them down a little bit. So it's a bit thinner, and I'm going to move them down. Okay, cool. And let's take a look at that. And I'm going to use this as the main source. So I'm going to scatter some points and increase the count. Let's turn off the relaxation so it's faster to scatter the points. And I'm going to use a fluid source node. Now obviously these points don't have any velocity on them, and we need to create something interesting to push the volume in the direction that we need it to go to. And in the fluid source, I'm going to make sure to change this to something else to make sure that it is initialized correctly. Actually, let me drop the fluid source node. You can see by default it doesn't have the density and temperature, so I'm going to set, by changing that, it triggers everything, and always remember to do that. So I'm going to change this to stamp points, and I'm going to increase the resolution of the grid to something higher to show all the details. So let's try 0.02. Cool. But you can see the radius is really big. This is our points, and we want something very thin. So under the stamp points, we're going to reduce that to 0.02. Maybe this is too low. Let's increase this a bit. Yeah, something like that. And let's turn off the noise. I don't want any noise multiplying the density field. So we have this thin layer of density now. And then the next thing that we need, if we go under velocity, there is nothing at the moment, and what I'd like to do, I want to create a velocity that pushes the points in this direction. So if we take a look, if we create a point VOP, and inside this point VOP, let's take the position and plug it into the normals and take a look at that. You can see we have velocity going this way, we have normals this way. We can also negate them to flip the direction, and that's what we're going to use to push the volume. So let me normalize this because I don't want the values to be I want the value to be normalized, and I'm going to remove the normalized because I can multiply the velocity by the inverse value. And now if we go back here and let's change the visualizer. Let's see, stamp points, let's lower this. Sorry, we need to connect this to the velocity, of course, not the normals. We can connect it to normal and then here set it to n. that works as well. And let's change the axis to Z and X. You can see now we have velocity pushing the volume inside. We can add a little bit of turbulence to this if we want to have some randomization in the volume, but I'm not going to do that. I just need to get the basic setup, which is the first thing I generally do. So I'm going to create a null, call this out density. I'm going to create a DOP network, call this sim, and let's dive inside, create a smoke solver, create a smoke object, create a source volume, and let's change this back and forth. And we want the out density, smoke object, and let's hit play. Nothing happens. Let's see where we're at. We're going to increase this more to see to have enough coverage for the data. Okay, let's hit play. Cool. So you can see now it's pushing the volume outward, and the resolution is really low, so it's hard to see. Let's increase this to 0.05, and let's set this to 4. Okay, and let's reverse this, -1. Cool. So we have already a good start. Let's lower this to 0.01. And let's turn off any buoyancy because we have temperature, and turning off the buoyancy will kill off the smoke from rising. Cool. So we have now the smoke pushing towards the center, and we need some collision mesh for this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy here, and I'm going to take this part and basically or we can actually create just a flat polygon. Oh, actually, you know, I'm gonna create a border, which is this guy, for the collision. So I don't want the smoke to go anywhere outside this. So I'm going to create a null, and then I'm gonna call this out static border. And then we need a volume representation of this. So VDB from polygon. And let's reduce this to 0.1. Okay. And we'll call this out static border SDF. And then we're gonna put a plane for now at this level just to have something to collide with. So let's first import the static object. And then let's make sure to set our volume sample to use that custom volume. And then let's put down a merge node, create a ground plane, merge these two guys. And then here, let's put down a merge, connect this with the solver. Okay. Like we have what we need. Let's move up the ground a tiny bit. Okay, and let's hit play. Okay, it looks like the geometry here is exactly on top of the fluid emitter. So I'm going to scale it just a little bit to add some room. Yeah, something like that. Okay. And I think the emitter was below the ground as well. So let's take a look at this and move it somewhere there, and make sure the ground is not, the fluid emitter is not below. So I'm going to move this guy up to 0. Actually, this is the main reason why it was not emitting, because the object was below the ground that we've made. So now we should see the density. Yep. And we should see the same effect except that it's colliding. Cool. So now we want something more interesting rather than just the simple emission here. And the next thing that we need is, if we look at the sim, if I still have it, I don't have it open. We saw that the smoke gets sucked into a hole next to where the logo is, and right now we don't have that. We have a flat ground, so we need to create our own custom collision that has that geometry as a hole in there. So we're going to prepare that geometry in the next video and continue adding more stuff to this setup. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.